I'll apologize in advance for any quality, lighting, or focus issues. I don't plan to do any IRL stuff ever, so I have a bit of a scuffed setup. So the Serious Sam 4 Collector's Edition didn't exactly sell well. They only made 1,000 of them, and about 9 months later it's still on sale. So I figured there wouldn't be much video or images out there of the contents. While I'm not exactly a big fan of unboxing, I figured I'd do this as an archival thing. The first thing you'll probably see is the steelbook, covered front to back with logos and bullet holes. And the bullet holes themselves are slightly concave and don't really protrude from the steelbook itself. And on the inside there's a custom USB drive that holds 15 gigabytes and has 4K video files of all of the trailers and the interviews they did pre-release for this game. Thankfully you can remove the holder for the USB drive so you can store the physical copy for this game that never got a physical copy. So next up is the art book. This thing is pretty hefty, sitting about 200 pages, and is quite sturdily built. I'll include some excerpts from this art book in the description. The last big item is the 2 dual-sided vinyl records. I'm not familiar with vinyl records myself, so take what I say as a grain of salt, but the overall container for the 2 vinyls is pretty good, but the individual packets for each one, they seem a bit flimsy, and I'm kind of worried that they'll easily fold over. As a warning, make sure you insert the vinyls while the folding container is closed. This might end up causing it to not close completely, and cause it to bend slightly. Here's the art book folded open, and the last piece of this collector's edition. It's a little sculpture of the in-game minigun. Overall, it has some nice detail, and the only problem I have with it is that the thin parts of the plastic are pretty flexible, and I kind of worry I'll break them or bend them the wrong way. And the base is just a solid block of wood, so you don't have to worry about damaging it at all. Also, I think it was supposed to come with a little stick to actually mount it onto the block, but I can't seem to find it, and I looked everywhere. Well, that's it for the unboxing, so feel free to leave if you'd like. This is just going to be my thoughts on it. Overall, for about $100 plus $22 for the shipping and handling, I'm pretty satisfied with it, and if you don't own Serious Sam 4 yet, but also want this for some reason, it's a pretty good deal because Serious Sam 4 is about $40, so you'll only really be paying $60 for the actual collector's edition itself. My biggest problem was that they started pre-orders for this back in November with a promised date of January, February, and I get that, you know, a pandemic's been going on and all that, but it took 9 months for me to finally get this. And I only got the code for the game itself about a month before it was shipped out to me. I figured at first that it would be a physical code somewhere in the box, but it was just an email from Devolver Digital about the code. I don't know what the delay on that was at all. Another complaint I have is I wish the vinyls weren't so brightly colored. I would have loved to have displayed them with the nice Serious Sam 4 logo, but with the bright red disc, it kinda stands out too much. I feel they use some art a little bit too much. On both the art book and the inside of the vinyl, you have the same thing. On the inside of the box and the back of the steelbook, it's the same art. And while the art book is 200 pages, there is a decent amount of fluff in there. In some cases for the enemies, you'll have one page be the enemy concept art or the models or whatever, and on the other side, it's just some descriptions that are pretty much copy and pasted from the game itself. The release time for this collector's edition was also a bit weird. On top of the fact that Serious Sam 4 didn't exactly have the best launch, it also came out 2 months after the release of the game itself, so I'm sure most people who'd be dedicated enough to Serious Sam would have already bought the game on launch, like I did. I personally would have loved to have bought this on launch, instead of paying $40 for Serious Sam, and then the $100 for this collector's edition. And for my last complaint, I kinda wish the steelbook didn't have all the bullet holes on the front. I think it looks really nice on the back, but I kinda wish that it was just completely blank, so all you saw was that nice and clean logo on the front.